Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Lori Smith of Blog Talk Radio. It is 5:30 here in the morning, Tuesday morning, December 6th. I'm glad to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another, and we're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com, and I'm just waking up, having some coffee, and chat room is open. I did pop the link in there, what we've been looking at for last week and what we'll look at this week, and that's 21 self-esteem tips from a website called Spiritwire. And, I'm just looking at stuff mainly to do with self-esteem and motivational type information for myself, and I just thought I'd pass it along to everybody else. These are things that we can do to help ourselves, as far as, adult survivors go of child abuse. There's tools out there. There's tools and things that we can use to help ourselves, and if we choose to use them, it's a choice that we have to make. It's a choice that we have to make to get help. It's a choice we have to make to reach out. It's a choice we have to make to be good to ourselves and to treat ourselves right and to treat other people right. These are all choices that we have available to us. We can choose to just sort of stay wounded, or we can choose to kind of try to help ourselves to move forward. That's what I've been doing for about 4.5 years, a little bit over that now, closer to 5 years, and working through some pretty heavy-duty stuff. And as people know, listening to my shows here on Blog Talk Radio, I'm talking about the whole thing and just the issues of being abused as a child, and it's pretty painful stuff. It's hard to deal with, and it's not easy for anybody to deal with this stuff. It doesn't matter what type of abuse it was. It doesn't matter, how long it went on. It's very difficult to overcome this stuff, and we can do it. This I know for sure. I've met way too many survivors of abuse who have come, a long, long way in their healing journey. And, they're the ones out in front of me saying, yep, it can be done. And I believe it. I truly do. And I think it's just because I've seen the progress that I've made in the last close to 5 years. And it just proves to me that absolutely it can be done. And it truly is our choice to get help. It's our choice to have a good life. It's our choice, to not be destroyed by the abuse that we suffered. And that's why I'm doing these shows, because I'm working through this stuff too myself, right? So thanks, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I'm not a counselor or a therapist. I'm just a private person doing my shows here on Blog Talk Radio. And you have to listen at your own discretion to all of my shows. I'm talking about abuse. Abuse is a very sensitive subject, and you have to know what's good for you to listen to, right? Because abuse is a heavy-duty topic, and if you feel like the topics of abuse might bother you, then you need to do the right thing for yourself and turn the show off. Listen at your own discretion to any of this, right? Young people under the age of 18, I just ask that you have permission to listen to my shows. I'm not sure how young the people are who are listening to my shows, and you need to keep yourself safe online. And if you're under 18 and under, I just ask that you have an adult, someone who's older, who's an adult, who can listen to the show with you. And then they can help you make a decision whether or not you should be listening to it age appropriately, right? Because there's a lot of adult content on my shows. My shows are not for younger children. It is all about stopping child abuse, but it's not. There's a lot of mature material on my shows, and I just think that anyone under 18 and under should have someone listen to the show with you, just for your own protection and so that you can make sure that it's age appropriate for you, right? So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it, and we'll get right into this topic here. So 21 self-esteem tips. We're on self-esteem tip number 4. This is from Spiritwire, www.spiritwire.com, and self-esteem tips. They have lots of good info here. It's just a page I ran across looking for self-esteem stuff, and it's I want to do a self-esteem workshop at a center here in Calgary, and the self-esteem stuff is very, very something that I've had to work with just to try to overcome what I survived as a child, which was just verbal, emotional, psychological battering as well as physical battering, and being as well as sexual battering, and just having to come through it and realize that, hey, you know what, I'm none of those things that my abusers told me I was, that I'm none of those things. Those were all lies. Those were all those were all told to me with the intent to hurt me, which they did. And later on in life, I'm sitting there thinking, did my mother really, was she intentionally trying to wound me by saying these things, or was she saying them out of anger and really didn't intentionally mean to hurt me? Either way, doesn't really matter. If the damage was done, And it did hurt me, you know what I mean? And did she ever acknowledge it or apologize or say she was sorry if none of it was true? No. At the end of her life, when I was 28 years old, turning 29, she told me again the same stuff, that she hated having children, she didn't want children, she hated her life, she hated her marriage, she didn't want us, you know, we were all nothing to her. That's what she told me. We were absolutely nothing to her. And so after all these years of growing up abused under her hands and my dad and my brother, and then to have her tell me that at the age of 29 years old, just threw me into a tailspin and back into a severe self-loathing and depression. I moved to Canada 2,000 miles away to get away from her and my abuser family, and I was just like devastated. It took me another, 11, almost 12 years to get to the point where I realized I needed to get on my healing journey, and that was when I started my healing journey about 4.5, almost 5 years ago now. So, it's a hard, heavy load to carry all this stuff, it really is, and it's truly our choice. Like, I realized 5 years ago that it was my choice. I could either stay completely devastated and allow myself to continue spiraling downward and possibly even kill myself, or I could do something about it. I realized that, hey, I had choices, I did not, and lots of people don't realize they have choices. My mother, choices, right? She was, when the authorities got involved, my parents were both busted and brought up on child abuse charges. The authorities got involved, and my mother had to go to court with my dad for sentencing. Right now, they didn't do any time, but they almost lost all of us right to the state, because the courts were like, if you guys don't follow through with what you're supposed to be doing, then we're going to remove the children, right? There was a whole bunch of us left in the home there. 2 of my older siblings had already moved out. One of them ran away, and the other one was married and moved out at a very young age. And then the next siblings, all down to me, were still in the home. So the courts were threatening to remove us, and my parents were to follow through with the whole set of stuff that they actually didn't follow through with. But the social workers and stuff were coming around talking to my mom and checking on us to make sure we weren't being abused anymore. And my mom had the opportunity to get out at that time, and she also had many opportunities to get out. She had many opportunities to get help. They were supposed to go to counseling for their own issues. My mother was abused as a child. She was in the same position I'm in. She was a child. She was treated horrifically by her mother. She passed this disease on to me, right? So she was in the same boat that I was in at the age of 42, sitting on my couch wanting to kill myself. That was my mother all over again. She was suicidal. I was just following the pattern that was shown to me as a child, right? The cycle of abuse, the cycle of violence, the cycle of being a victim, because my parents were both victims of child abuse, and then they in turn perpetrated the cycle on us, and then all of my siblings, of course, were victims of child abuse, and then including myself. So I was doing the same exact thing that my mother was doing. I had choices, I had options, right? But I didn't see that. I didn't see the choices. I didn't see the options until the age of 42, when I woke up and finally smelled the coffee and said, whoa, it's going to have to be me to do this, Something clued into me that, well, first of all, I was tired of living the way that I was. I was really tired of going to work and having a good day at work and then coming home and wanting to kill myself, right? I got really, really tired of that trap that I was in, because it really seriously was a trap. It was a set of behaviors that I was doing for so long that I was just, I was unable to get out of it. Like, I didn't know that I had choices. I would go to work and then everything would be fine, and then I'd come home and I'd be like stuck with myself and my memories and the pain from the past. And I thought, how long am I going to have to suffer this? So I was just thinking the victim mentality, which is what my mother was doing, and thinking, I just should end my life and I shouldn't be here anymore, and how long am I going to have to suffer? Well, this was the same thing my mother did, and we watched my mother do our whole lives. And then finally one night I realized that, hey, it's going to have to be me to change this. And that's a hard thing to do, because it means that you got to get help. Whatever kind of help it is, whether it's a therapist or counselor, or whether you do it self-help or whatever, which is what I'm doing. Group support. I did do some online group support stuff, which was great, and I still do. Whatever it takes we have to get help, right? 2 of my brothers didn't get help and they killed themselves, right? This is just so incredibly sad that people do these things and follow the suit that was given, follow this role and this path and this plan that was put on them as children. We don't have to do that as adults. We have choices, right? And so that's why I'm looking at the self-esteem stuff, because, it's truly our choice. I can sit there and believe that all these things that my mother told me, that I was a whore and I was a bad kid and I was a rotten child and I was evil and I was a slut and all these horrible things. I could believe that, but I know it's not true. So why would I want to believe that when I know that I was none of those things as a child and I didn't deserve to be treated that way at all? Nobody does. And I was none of those things, So I can believe those lies, or I can just choose to not believe them. Does it mean that the voices are gone just because I choose not to believe that stuff? No. Her voice is very loud and clear still in my mind because it's my memories. I remember what she said to me and the hurtful stuff that she said. She rarely said anything nice, which is why most of the hurtful stuff sticks around. I can choose to believe that, or I can just say, no, none of that stuff was true. And I could start to reinforce positive stuff, and will that other stuff be there? Probably. I can't imagine it's going to today. The issue is that I don't have to buy into it. I don't have to live my life according to it. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, I was not a slut and a whore. I was sexually abused by my brother at the age of 8, which caused me to severely shut down sexually my whole entire life. So I was not a whore, and I was not a slut. I was raped as a child. And so my mother was just doing that to hurt me, you know what I mean? And I was born a rape child, so she was trying to make me feel bad all the time. So she'd be like, well, you're a rape child. I can't love you. How could I love a rape child? Like, my mother would say these things to me. And then I was raped as a child. So then she called me a whore and a slut and a cunt and all this stuff. She allowed my 21-year-old brother to sexually use me. And she knew that he was raping me. She knew what he was doing. And she did nothing to stop it. And she wasn't standing there watching, right? But she was just going to let it happen. She was not going to get involved because she did not want to confront my brother, and she did not want to confront the whole thing. She was being sexually abused by my dad, who was raping her, and I think my mom thought, well, too bad. I'm getting mine. You're getting yours. Deal with it. That's what she told me. Deal with it. It's your problem, not mine. And a year later, the sad thing is a year later, I took a bat to my dad's head because I thought he was trying to rape her. I was still trying to protect my mother, you know what I mean? People, it was just innate within me to try to help my mother. I loved my mother and I wanted her to love me back, and she never did. This is a hard reality to deal with, and so many of us out there have had to deal with this stuff, And you know what? We don't have to stay wounded. We can learn to deal with this stuff, whether we need psychological help or mental, help, or whether we need spiritual help, whether we need, counseling for neurotic issues, whatever it is, we can get help. This was not our fault in the first place. And so why should we suffer for the rest of our lives because somebody did something to us that was so heinous and so horrible and never should have happened? And what, we're going to allow ourselves to be destroyed because of it? That is the stupidest thing. But you know what, though? I was doing it. I'm not running people down. I'm saying for myself. I mean, I was doing that because I didn't realize I had choices. I didn't realize I could change this stuff. I didn't realize that I could change the way I felt about myself. I mean, I knew I couldn't change the past. That's pretty obvious. And I'm a person who lives in reality, so there you go. But the issue is that I didn't realize that I myself had the power and the tools and could find the tools and the resources to change the way I felt about myself and to change things, even though I had been doing that work all along, in my 20s and my 30s, because I was talking about this the other day. In order just to go out and get jobs and stuff like that, you got to have some self-confidence. You got to be able to sit there in an interview and talk to people. Some self-esteem, you know what I mean? So I've been working on this for a long, long time. But at the age of 42, I finally decided, okay, now I'm going to do this too. I'm going to really do it. You know what I mean? Instead of allowing myself to be destroyed by this abuse that I suffered, which wasn't my fault, I'm going to get help, whatever it is. And so, these self-esteem tips are really good. They're good for me and they're good for everybody. But we have to make the choice to do them. It's not something that is just going to happen over. We can't just look at it one time and then that's it. I still continually have to do the self-affirmations. that no, I am good enough. I can do it. Because I might have a few good days where things are going great, and then things seem to be really falling into place and things are going great. I can actually pay my bills and, or whatever. I'm working at the time, which, because, half the time I'm not working, which really stinks, but it's because I work temporary jobs and contract work, and sometimes I'm sitting in between contracts for weeks without a job, and it's very stressful and frustrating because, I'm on the edge. I'm always teetering on the edge. And so it's hard. It's a hard place to be. But what it does is build up my confidence to realize that, hey, you know what, this is all good. It also sets my priorities straight and what's important to me and what's not. It's money is obviously not important to me. Otherwise, I'd just be concentrating on making money all the time. I'm trying to heal and get better. Right? And so in doing this, I have to work on myself all the time. I can't just say these positive affirmations and do a couple of these self-esteem tips once in a while and that's it. And I have to be on this stuff steady. It's like a healing journey. It's just like anything we do. We have to make a commitment to it. It's not something that I can just do one of these self-esteem tips and everything will be okay. It's like no. But what I am doing is building up a healthy set of behaviors, a healthy way of thinking, trying to learn how to take care of my body as well as my spirit, as well as my mental self. Trying to learn how to take care of the whole self, right? And also, because that's hard. I have a hard time doing that because I wasn't shown how to do that as a child. I was shown how to destroy myself, and so it's a steady battle with myself to do the right things for myself and to allow myself to, in every way, to heal and to get better, right? And so it's the opposite of what I was shown how to do. And so I'm always on the opposite slide of the learning curve, right? So people would look at me maybe and think, "Wow, what a loser!" I mean, but I look at myself and say, "Wow, I'm a winner." I'm a winner. I'm not on the street doing drugs. I didn't end up in the gutter like I was planning on. I didn't kill myself, which I was planning on. I'm still here. I'm doing so much better that I have to count the positive stuff. I can't just look at the negative stuff. I got to look at the positive stuff too, and say, wow, no, I'm doing really quite well for somebody who's come through what I've. And am I learning how to take care of myself? Yeah, little by little, piece by piece. Working through things, and reaching out when I need to. Doing a whole lot of assessments to see how far I've come in my journey, these type of things. I do spend a lot of time on it because I want to get better. I want to get well. I don't want to sit around thinking about killing myself. I don't want to sit around and think about, what a loser or whore I am, which is just not true. I have a life to live. My sweetheart. I love this man. He's on his last legs. He's terminally ill. He's got liver failure. He's got a numbered a set of days. Right now, we don't know what that number is, but the issue is that his end is coming. I don't want to spend that end focusing on my negative stuff. I want to be able to live and enjoy the rest of my days while he's on the planet. And so it's a tough situation because in the meantime, I do have to work on myself. But in the meantime, I want to spend the rest of the time that I have with my also, but in a healthy manner, so that so in other words, I've had to focus on the whole thing, not just part of my life, but the whole thing. And so jobs have sort of come in third place, really. Working is just like third place to me right now, and I need to work because everything here in Calgary is so expensive, and the cost of living is crazy. You have to earn a lot of money just to make it. Just to be living in Poverty Row with all the people that are the prostitutes of the city and all the drug users, you got to be making a fortune, right? You got to be making a double fortune if you want to live in any decent place in the city. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely out of control. This is one of the most expensive places to live on the planet, and it's very, very expensive. And you have to be working. You can't just sit by and get by. It's insane. And you have to have a good job, a really good job. It has to pay really well in order to make it. And so it's insane. But the issue is that's sort of the stuff that's not important to me right now. You know what I mean? So I just barely make it. You know what I mean? But I'm like, you know what? Too bad. Comes first is me saving my life so I don't kill myself. That comes first. right? So there has to be priorities, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, first of all, my healing journey and my work that I'm doing on myself really is number one, because I can't do anything else without doing that. So without getting the help that I need and focusing on what I need and getting my needs met as far as, getting help, reaching out, learning how to help myself, which is seriously important. We have to learn how to do that. And learning how to rely on coping mechanisms so that I can build these coping mechanisms in and build these, for instance, these self-esteem tips, anything like this, working on building that in so to help my behaviors, to help the way that I'm thinking about myself, thinking about life. This is like a huge process, right? But it's totally doable. And we can do it. And some people need more than just self-help. Some people need a counselor. Some people need a therapist. Some people need a psychotherapist. You know what I mean? Some people, and there's no shame in that. It's a matter of what we need. You know what I mean? And I made a promise to myself when I started my healing journey almost 5 years ago. I said, if I can't do this self-help, then I'm going to get a psychotherapist. I really don't care. But I'm going to get help because I deserve it. I do not deserve to be sitting on the couch here wanting to kill myself. That is ridiculous because of what my parents did to me and my brother did to me. This is absolutely not my fault, and yet it will be my fault if I kill myself because that'll be my choice. And I thought, I cannot allow myself to be destroyed by this. I'm going to have to get help. So this is where it all came down to, commitments. And I'm really pretty stubborn, so I make a commitment, that's all there is to it. So I made a commitment to do this, right? So this kind of comes first place in my life, you know what I mean? This whole healing journey thing. Cecil, it comes second, sadly enough, but he does. Because without me staying alive and being well, I can't really help him. And so I got to keep a really good frame of mind in order to be able to live with him because he's terminally ill. And he gets sick and nearly dies at least 2 or 3 times a year. Well, at least twice, sometimes 3 times a year. So every 3 times or 2 or 3 times a year, I have to be prepared to lose him. You know what I mean? I have to be prepared to bury my sweetheart, right? So that's a hard thing to be dealing with on top of the past abuse issues, right? It's very extremely hard. But this is what people will have to go through. If it's not somebody else being ill, it'll be ourselves. I'm also dealing with my own physical stuff, you know what I mean? Physical problems. And it's like, this is just, it can be very, very hard. And I watched my whole family do this my whole life. So I understand what I need to do, which is to get help. My parents didn't get help, but, that was their choice. They let their family spiral down and they destroyed their family. But I don't have to do that. I don't have to follow their example. I can get help. I can reach out where I need to. And now I've actually come to the point where instead of me reaching out because I've done the bulk of my healing work, I'm ready to help other people, right? Which is just a really amazing thing, right? Because I'm working on volunteering with a crisis line here where I live, as well as working to get involved with the Calgary Women's Center, as well as getting involved with children and family services. And this is all stuff that's coming up. So, now I can help other people, you know what I mean? Whereas before I wouldn't have been able to help other people because I see because I've done it and seen the coping mechanisms and what we can do to help ourselves and actually gone through it and used this stuff. I understand how it works. So I can help other people. That's great, But the issue is that it's all a balance, It's all a balance. I still hear my mother's voices. Just because I'm on my healing journey doesn't mean I don't remember what happened to me as a child. And just because I've done the work with the visualizations and stuff doesn't mean that I don't remember being abused as a child and have those memories. Of course I do. I mean, I'm not living in denial. I'm living in reality. But the issue is that I've learned how and where to put that stuff and how to not let it get to me like I used to, right? And that's through behavior, that's through coping mechanisms and all kinds of stuff, right? Really cool techniques and tools that can be used. That's exactly what a therapist and a psychotherapist would do. I just did all mine self-help with the help of some really good friends, Gypsy Witch and Beverly Searle, mainly, working with me to help me on visualizations and whatnot. So really it wasn't completely, right? And not only that, but I've had so many friends who have supported me along the way, which has been an extremely important help. Because without support, it's a lonely place. We need support. We need to reach out where we can, and get help. That's all we allow. We should be allowed to do that. As survivors of abuse, we really need to. You know what I mean? Because we don't deserve to suffer any more than we've already suffered. It's ridiculous to think that, I got to suffer my whole entire life because I was abused as a child. I probably will always have some suffering going on because the memories are there, But I can learn to empower myself, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So, these self-esteem tips are just part of that. We can learn how to empower ourselves, and we can work with other people that are empowering. You want to hang around with good people who empower you. You don't want to hang around with people who are going to bring you down. You hang around with people who are going to just cut you down. There's no sense in that. That's just like hanging around with abusers or hanging around with the old past abusers that were in our life that made us feel and behave the way that we do now. You don't want to do that. Hang around with people, associate with people who are going to empower you or find the tools to empower yourself. Life is too short to be hanging around with people who will drag you down. Do not allow people to do that. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to have a bad day and screw up. But it's just the fact that if people are continually dragging you down, don't listen to that stuff. We can use these tools and these coping mechanisms to help ourselves, to give us the sense of self-worth and self-empowerment, that absolutely we do have choices, and absolutely we can choose to get help, and we can choose to love ourselves. We can choose to be good to ourselves. We can choose to treat other people right. We can choose to make these are choices that we have to make. My parents didn't make any of those choices. My brother didn't make that choice. They chose to hurt me in every way they possibly could. That's a horrible choice, you know what I mean? Well, they were hurting themselves too, but they were also hurting me. They made horrible, wrong choices. And, I could see these things. I could see them as a child. I was having to suffer through them, the choices that they made on behalf of me as a child. That's why I fight for child rights and I fight against child abuse, because people are making the wrong choices on behalf of children, right? But the issue is these kids will have to suffer through. If they live, they're going to end up in the same stinking position that I was in to go ready to kill themselves, or just hating life and hating themselves, or abusing other people, abusing their own families. The same cycle of abuse that just keeps getting passed on and passed on. Don't do that. Put a stop to it. Get some help. Reach out, whatever it takes. If you don't want to reach out and you want to remain anonymous, there's group support out there for people who want to remain anonymous. You don't have to tell people who your abuser is. You don't have to do that. You can get help. There's people you can talk to. If you have to, you call a crisis line. I'm going to be one of those people sitting on the crisis line. You just do whatever. There's no money in it. You know what I mean? It's because these people are doing this because they care. And they've probably been there, or they know someone who has been there. So, you make sure you get some help, whatever it is. Make sure you get some help, right? Don't allow yourself to be destroyed by this stuff. Self-esteem tips number 1 we went through: set an intention. Just set an intention for the day. It's going to be a good day. I'm going to do the best I can today to be good to myself. We could set that intention getting up in the morning, but it has to be an intention. It's like I'm going to try my hardest to treat myself and others well today, and I'm going to make a commitment to do that, right? Or it's going to be a good day, whatever it is. Be true to ourselves, We have to be really true to ourselves, It's just, we are responsible for our own happiness. It says you are responsible for your own happiness. Your feelings are important. And you know what? That's so true. We are responsible for our happiness. We're responsible for the whole thing. Now, as adults. As children, we weren't. There's no way we could be. As adults, we're responsible for our choices. My mother chose to have a miserable life, and so I watched her life be really destroyed by her circumstances and by herself. And I thought, man, I do not want to do that. I want to wake up and feel good about life. I want to wake up and feel good about myself. And these are choices that I make every day. We can make these choices. We don't have to allow ourselves to spiral downward, right? So we'll pick up here tomorrow. Looking at number 4, beware of what your monkey mind, the voice in your head, is saying, and upgrade your physical diet and stuff like that. We'll continue on with this website, www.spiritwire.com. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Take good care of yourselves. Have a really good day, and, reach out, get some help. Don't allow yourself to go downward, spiraling downward. Do the right thing by yourself. Make a commitment to yourself to get help. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.